हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ तत्सत्। Good evening. Because of Ashtami, we had 1 week break. So we are back again after a 2 week gap. Last class we discussed the practice of Chitta Prasadanam, how to actualize the technique in everyday life. That Yoga Sutra, 33rd Yoga Sutra, that Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshanam Sukadukka Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanartha Chitta Prasadanam. So based on that sutra, we had a discussion, just reminding. Today, I would like to discuss the ability or let us say the everyday commitment to improve our spiritual power. It's a very generic term. See, we all understand when I say, to improve your spiritual power, your spiritual force inside you, the power. Excuse me. The power of the spirit inside us. So, how to improve the power of the spirit? So, when we are talking about spiritual wisdom, yoga practices, and all that, this term, though we do not understand exactly what it means, we do have a kind of appreciation for this concept in a very abstract, undefined, vague manner. Whenever we hear about saints and sages, about the stories from our Puranas, you see these Rishi Munis and yogis in different stories and in picturizations and in TV serials like Ramayana, etc. We are familiar with this, this Rishi doing tapasya. Unfortunately, we are more familiar with the concept of spiritual power like some Rishi cursing. He has one little kamandalu next to him. So some mischievous guy does some nonsense, something bad to this Rishi, and this Rishi gets really upset, and he takes that water in his hand from the kamandalu and then does an incantation and sprinkles the water on him, and then this young man becomes a donkey, something like that. So we see in this movies based on spiritual folklore and legend. Yeah. So this is how we generally understand spiritual power. I've been so we should not mess up with tapasvis, mahatmas, and things like this. It's a general idea that is there in our culture, but it's also the other side. Blessings of mahatmas, blessings of sages and saints, that will never go wrong. It will always come true. So it is important, to respect them and be of service to them and see how we can make their everyday life better. And then you get a lot of blessings, it's punyam. And when a great sage blesses you, all the problems can be solved. So these kind of sentiments are also there in our culture. Now, what is very important here is to understand in our Sanatana Dharma, it is emphasized again and again in every possible context that spiritual power is there for the taking for anyone. It is not an exclusive property or a birthright of a few people only who will be able to command that. It is meant only for saints and sages and yogis and sannyasis and mahatmas. No. We have numerous occasions and stories which have illustrated the presence of great spiritual power in very common people. We have the story of the Nayanmar called Nandanar. We have the story of numerous saints and sages who are from very common background, normal people, right? So they were respected as saints and sages because of the grace that manifested through them due to their commitment to the spiritual ideal in their life. So these are not for hero worshipping an individual. These stories are there for us to understand it is as much ours as it is that saints. So we need to first stop putting the saints and sages and yogis on a pedestal and ourselves as, oh, this is all not for us. It is all only for the Mahatmas. This is what we need to stop doing first. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi used to say repeatedly again and again, the first obstacle for self-realization is that thought that you are not realized and it is not for me. Oh, it is a big thing. How will I get self-realized? That is the main block. Why would you not? Why should it not be possible for you? Why? Give me one reason, he says. No? So this general topic of increasing our spiritual power, the power of our spirit, in a very normal, universal kind of a spiritual discourse, in a more common way of presenting, they generally use the expression, the power of spirit over matter. Basically, the power of the mind over body, the power of the individual's will against and over the circumstances. In our earthly life as human beings, no matter where we are born, no matter what profession we are in, no matter what social condition we are in, no matter the level of prosperity we are in, no matter in which station of life, ashrama, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. So if I am a student or a householder or a renunciate, no matter my lifestyle, no matter my social group, whichever jati I belong, varna I belong, no matter my commitments, my professions, each one of us have to face one or more challenging circumstances on an everyday basis. On an everyday basis, even on a very good day, what we call as, oh, today was a good day, or today was a bad day, we say, right? So even on a day, what we would call as, oh, today was a nice day, it was a good day, even in that a good day, there will be challenges. That is the nature of life. So whenever, no matter who we are faced with situations and challenges that can overwhelm our mood, our healthy attitude towards life. It can be a real challenge to our healthy attitude towards life. It can challenge our ability to stay happy or stay calm or balanced. It can challenge our health on in different levels, right? It can challenge our knowledge, our self-worth, our sense of self-worth can get challenged. Our sense of dignity can get challenged. So in every level of functioning, we end up facing some kind of a challenge from our environment, from our own body, and from unforeseen circumstances from nature, etc. You want to have, you planned a lot, and you wanted to go for a nice walk starting today. I want to plan my fitness. I want to go for a nice walk starting today. And you have only that 2 hours window where you can do your walking or jogging or whatever, and then do some deep breathing, etc., and then come back to your other commitments. And exactly in that 2 hour window, it is going to rain like crazy, and you cannot go for a walk. Now that is a challenge. From you feel like, man, why did it rain now? Suppose if you are from a very good farmer family or something, they have a sentiment that you should not curse the rain. You should not blame the rain. You should always welcome the rain. So there is a huge sentiment around rain in the farming community, right? So there are even mantras that in Rigveda mantras that say, "Oh, great cloud, who is full of rain, please go and pour all the excessive rain that is not healthy for the land. Please go and release that rain in the forest and in the ocean, and do not hurt the crops, and not do not rain too much and hurt the land and the crops." Like that, there is a mantra. So that mantra was in circulation when there was too much rain and flood. So when rain is there, you have all this, so you cannot curse the rain. But then you are upset that you are, because it's raining, you cannot go for your jogging or walking right now. And then you say, see, only today I decide to do something and it's raining. I am never able to do what I want to do. Always something goes wrong. When I really want something, everything will go wrong. Now I can respond to this with this attitude, or I can use it as an opportunity to look at how this event affects my attitude towards myself, towards life. How all this, you completely accept this emotion and how it comes, and see how I can be committed to my goal, which is to exercise and walk or whatever I had planned, a fitness activity basically. So the goal is not walking. Walking is a means to the end, which is fitness or some health practice, right? So the walking is a means to the goal, which is fitness. So my goal is fitness. So let me see what else can I do within the given circumstances. What else can I do in my pursuit of my goal of fitness? So that would be staying on track despite the external challenge. It's a very simple thing, right? Now, all these things look like common sense. We have discussed so many aspects of in this Nishta class. We have discussed so many aspects, so many concepts. But the essence of when you bring it all down, what is in essence improving your spiritual power? What does it mean practically that I improve my spiritual power on a day-to-day basis? It means I improve my capacity to pursue my goal. I have a goal and I want to pursue that. This I am talking from the yoga perspective, from the perspective of a person, of an individual, a jiva who is devoted to goals. So we are not talking about jnanis here. We are talking about karma yogis. We are talking about normal people who consider themselves as the doer and enjoyer, and who have goals. There are worldly goals, spiritual goals, internal goals, external goals. Yeah. So we are talking about a person who is committed to a healthy attitude and success in life. As a person committed to success in life and a healthy attitude towards life, improving your spiritual power basically boils down to an undaunting ability to stay on track in the pursuit of your goals, both long-term goals and short-term goals. I will not lose my track in the face of challenges. This is, in essence, cultivating spiritual power, nothing else. You know, doing miracles and siddhis and all those things, we can understand all those supernatural things that we read about in the Puranas, we read about in the Itihasas, whatever we read about regarding rishis and yogis, all those supernatural and extra sensory perception and all these siddhis and all these powers, we can understand all of them as an extrapolation, an extension, and an exaggeration probably of our ability to pursue our goal no matter what. First, I don't allow the variations in nature, both external and internal. Swami Vivekananda discusses this extensively in his book Raja Yoga. Very inspiring discussion he has, that power of the will over nature. So me not being affected by the variations in nature, both outside and inside, when it comes to my conscious commitment. My conscious commitment and orientedness is in my buddhi, in the level called, yeah. If you remember the Panchakosha, using that model, you can understand it as a certain level of steadiness or a commitment in the Vijnanamaya. This goal-oriented Purushartha is in the buddhi, in the Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya is the jiva, the individual. So it is in my conscious will. If you want to talk it in a normal, in a common parlance, it is my conscious will connected to my ego, that comes from my ego, right? Which is not wrong. So the moment I say ego, do not consider it as a bad word. Ego is not a bad word. Ego is a fact of life, and ego is a faculty. Ego is the limited sense of individuality that is at the fulcrum of the entire individuality, the individual life. The whole individual life is centered around the ego. So the question is about whether the ego is a healthy ego or an unhealthy ego. That is what is the whole, the entire inquiry about this ego, the entire discussion about this ego is about whether it is a healthy ego or an unhealthy ego. Is it a ego that is in tune with sattva, in tune with right knowledge, in tune with right ideals, in tune with noble ideals and values? Or is it a ego that is totally, out of tune with nature, out of tune with the laws of life, out of tune with dharma, completely in self gratification and regrets and all that, rajasic, tamasic? So the idea is to develop a healthy ego, a predominantly sattvic ego, or if a rajasic ego that is inspired and devoted to sattva, one of that, sattvic or sattvic rajas, one of that. As much as possible, a journey towards a sattvic or a sattvic rajasic ego is what we would call as a healthy ego. So this devotion to one's goal, being tuned and dedicated to the one's purpose in life, immediate short-term goals and long-term goals, ability to stay on track in the face of the various challenges that come from the body, from mood, from mind, from hormones, from health conditions, from infections, from situations, from the relations, the human relations, and from nature, and from things that come from, what you call as your karmic things that your prarabdha karma attracts, and the challenges that are thrown, that is complete unexpected challenges that we face. In the face of all that, how much I am able to come back and stay on track on my pursuit towards my well ascertained, intelligently decided, clear goals. That would be the definition of spiritual power. So, how to improve that spiritual power? For that, I will propose the concept of micro tapasya. See, whenever in our the inspiration again comes from our itihasas and Purana. In the inspiration, if you take it, if you see, anybody who wants to get something done has to overcome a huge challenge. Right from my childhood, since I was a baby, when I was listening to my granny's stories over dinner and lunch when she was feeding me. Right from that time to when you start reading the scriptures more seriously, always we see this. Somebody has a huge problem, go and do tapasya. No matter who you are, if you are a deva, this Indra who is the king of devas, is always making some mess and getting into trouble, and he has to tell him, go and do tapasya. So Indra will go and do tapasya on Lord Narayana or Shiva, and then try to, win the grace and get out of trouble. So all the devatas are doing tapasya. Anytime they have a problem, they do tapasya. Then you see about the kings. We have the sage Vishwamitra. He goes and sees that Vasishta, he has a king, he uses his entire army and tries to take the mother Kamadhenu, the cow, the holy cow in sage Vasishta's ashram. That Nandini cow, it doesn't come. So he understands that all his army and everything is completely powerless in front of sage Vasishta's power of austerity. Then he says, I will also do tapasya. It's a very Rajasic move. But then, he goes and does tapasya, he becomes Vishwamitra. He was even able to create a parallel universe, Trishanku Swarga, right? So he becomes so powerful. So we hear all these stories. Okay, you are a man, you want to solve problem, you do tapasya. You are even Lord Rama, Avatara, Lord Rama and Lakshmana, when they had to face the challenge to fight the Asuras, say Agastya teaches them Aditya Hridaya Stotram. And then they do meditate on that and they do some tapasya and improve that power in them. Bala, Atibala mantras and all that we hear. So our history, the Indian Sanatani history, if you want to see one word that defines the course of our history, where it is the one ultimate word, magic word for problem solving in our culture, is that magic word is tapasya. Asuras, the demonic people also do tapasya. They have a problem, they are insulted, they feel insulted, they're always coming from insult and hurt. That is the asura gunas. So this asura's mother is hurt or this guy is hurt. He goes and does tapasya, ghor tapasya. Then you see this guy standing on one leg on all the thorns in the middle of the fire, and all that we see in our Mahabharata and in Ramayana series and all that. So then even as a kid when we used to play, we are doing this characterization of standing in one leg and doing tapasya, and then we take a homemade weapon and we go and fight with our friends. It's part of the folklore, it's part of the way of life. It's part of the cultural thinking, the collective cultural consciousness. Tapasya is with us. You have tapasya woven into relationships. You have this vratam. The concept of vratam is tapasya scaled down to a normal man, a common person. A wife, there is this one vratam where the women emulate or inspired by that one of the pativratas called Anushaya, I think Savitri, Satyavan Savitri. Savitri, brings him back alive from Lord Yama. That is there. So there are tapasyas for women to have to bring the grace for their husband's long life, for them to have a smooth family life. And there is tapasya for women to conceive a healthy child. There are tapasyas for a man to there are yajnas. There are all kinds of there's always this concept of vratam. There's ekadashi vratam, pradosha vratam. It is there completely woven into that. This tapasya is not only unique to our Sanatana Dharma. Tapasya as a concept, if you look, is there in every culture. Australian Aborigines, when a boy comes of age, before he is accepted as a man in the tribe, he goes through a tapasya. It is called the walkabout. that I heard about a concept called, there's a book called The Walkabout Papers. It talks about an Aboriginal Australian practice. The boy goes out into the wilderness and he has to survive by himself for a certain amount of time, and then he comes back. And when he comes back with his own unique knowledge and understanding of life. Maybe he develops some skill sets and he is able to become a useful contributor to the tribe. Then you have the concept of tapasya, the shaman who goes into fasting and meditation, and he takes some special diet, and then he comes back with an insight. You have that in the various tribes. Every tribe of the world has the concept of tapasya. Every religion of the world, in Christians have the Lent, in Muslims they have the Ramadan. The concept of tapasya is uh, part and parcel of human consciousness. So, one thing we need to understand is how to bring and integrate the concept of tapasya in our lives. We have a lot of pointers towards tapasya in our religion. In any religion you are from, in any spiritual tradition you are from, there is a pointer to the concept of tapasya, right? So this tapasya is the magic word. Now, when it is coming to tapasya, what we need to understand, some mystic activity alone. Those are there, mantra japas and specific religious spiritual practices sanctioned by the scriptures, and with a connection to something paranormal, something connected to the divine. All that is there, and then there is this. And also we have to grow out, or we have to grow out of this idea that tapasya means only that what we see in the movies, standing on one leg on fire. That is not, that alone is not tapasya. That is an extreme form of tapasya. But tapasya basically means tapa, the fire, nurturing the spirit, nurturing the spiritual fire in us. Basically that is what is tapasya. And it is basically like how you soften a metal, like gold. You put it in the fire, in the furnace, and make it malleable. You can cast it into what shape you want, like. So similarly, improving our resilience, tapasya is basically improving our resilience to challenges in various levels. Sharira tapasya, vak tapasya. If you see in Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, in all those chapters, see, Vangmayam tapas, na udvekaram vakyam, satyam priyam, hitam chayat, Vangmayam tapaha uchyate. There, you know, if you always speaking the truth, and speaking the truth in a pleasant way, in a way that is useful for everyone, true, useful, and pleasant speech. Always being committed to a speech that is devoted to truth and presented in a pleasant way, and in a useful way, and speak only what is useful. Not vrita vakyam na ucharyatam. It comes in sadhana panchakam. Do not speak useless words. Don't do loose talk. Not to do loose talk, and talk only purposefully, and talk only what is useful and beneficial to oneself or to others, and talk only what is true, talk what is pleasing. Just because you want to talk something pleasing, do not tell a lie. All this put together comes vangmayam tapas, means the tapasya, the austerity of speech. Similarly, we have pointers. We have tapasya of the body, tapasya of the senses. For example, one tapasya we can do for the senses. You can create a tapasya. So when you want to bring this concept of tapasya into our life, we can go by these broad principles. That's what this Nishta is about. So how we can, bring it down, step down the whole concept, and try to see how we can practically integrate in our modern everyday lives that is today, right? So what you do is, first do an introspection we can all do that, including myself. We can all do an introspection and make a list. What are the areas in life where I feel helpless? You may feel helpless with respect to certain actions. For example, I feel very helpless when I have to multitask. I cannot multitask. You give me too many things to handle, I'll not be able to, I can do one thing with a very good focus, but I cannot do two, three things. I'll mess up something. I'll start bungling. That is one of the problems I have by design. Uh, Similarly, you will have some other problem. Each person will have some other problem. There are some people who cannot put up with injustice. When they see injustice, they cannot put up with it. There are these animal activists. They're very sentimental about dogs. Somehow, these PETA people, they don't care about cows, but they care a lot about dogs. It doesn't matter. At least they care about dogs. Uh, so, whenever there is a puppy in distress, they will forget their family. They will forget everything, and they will have to rescue that puppy. I know I'm being cynical, but it's a good thing. But it is a form of helplessness. So you are not able to use the discernment. An external situation makes us get carried away, right? So that is a kind of helplessness. Even in compassion, there can be helplessness. There are people who cannot say no. That's a big problem. Whoever asks something, they don't know how to say no, even when the demand is an unhealthy demand and an unjustifiable demand. And it is, if they say yes to that, they are going to hurt themselves. The consequences are not going to be good. They know that, but they somehow cannot say no. They say yes and regret later. Now, that is a kind of helplessness, right? So there are different kind of helplessness we have emotional helplessness. There are people who feel hurt all the time. Every time you tend to read between the lines. You go to a function, a marriage. Now it is called muhurtam time this month. Next month, the Shravana Masa. By the time it is ending, a lot of muhurtams are happening. Again, muhurtam will start in January, February. You go and attend a lot marriages and functions. I see a lot of people struggling with jealousy. And when there is always, when the whole family and friends, they all meet for an occasion, there is always some gossip, some jokes, some comments. There are people who cannot take jokes. Whatever you say, they will read between the lines and start getting hurt. That is a certain kind of helplessness, emotional helplessness. And one may feel insecure. All the decisions might come from insecurity. That is a certain kind of helplessness. So each one of us can make a list in every level. Physically, what are the zones where I feel helpless? Okay, I am not able to wake up. I wake up in the morning, but I am not able to get out of my bed. I am procrastinating, or I am taking my phone and lounging for too long. This is one helplessness. So gadget addiction. This is one helplessness. Uh, Physically, I am not able to control myself from having sweets or some masala items or whatever. I'm addicted to excessive eating. That is one kind of helplessness. I am addicted. I am very anxious about putting on weight, so I am not able to eat. Anorexia. That is one kind of helplessness. These are all physical. There are also, my body is prone to infection. Every month I get sick for 4 or 5 days. There are people like that, very bad immunity. That is a certain kind of helplessness. You can create tapasya for that. So each one of us can make a list at the body level. Then at the senses level, I am very obsessed about visually everything being perfect. Let us say everything has to be in their place. It's a kind of a OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I cannot relax if an object in front of me is not symmetrical. That is one kind of a problem they have. This kind of subconscious quirks, people have that. Or I need to be, I judge everybody based on their visual. I judge people based on how they're dressed. Are they using matching clothes? Are their shoes very good? The nails are all groomed. Do they look very groomed? The hair is okay. The beard is all trimmed. There is no beard, clean shaven. Like I may have some visual mappings. This means that. So I am visually very judgmental, let us say, or I get very affected when I am faced with visual ugliness or something asymmetric, not very pleasing to me. That can really put me off. That is one helplessness. So any stimuli. This is with respect to vision. Then with respect to uh, hearing, there are people who cannot function when there is things are very noisy. I had this problem. Even now I have, but it is not too much. So I created a tapasya for that. For example, whenever there is a noise that I cannot help, like for example, this trash van that goes in the morning to collect trash. In India, we are so childish as a population. The government has to motivate us every morning by playing some song. There is this song, Swachh Bharat song. So that thing plays for half an hour almost. It's yelling in a horrible microscope, in a microphone. It keeps yelling for half an hour in that trash cart until they take from all the houses and go, and that will come exactly at the time of breakfast, and it will start yelling that trash song. So you are only thinking about trash, right? So or you are doing some japa and this thing starts. Or if it is a Margadi month, the December month, or it was last month, this Ashada Masam, all the Amman temples will start blaring in the loudspeakers. And then there is this other fellow who blares 5 times a day, early morning, start howling over the loudspeaker. So ours is a very noisy country. So I did this. I was getting very affected by this and not able to function properly. So even now it affects me, but not that bad. So this tapasya helped me a lot. So what I do is, whenever I hear too much noise that I cannot do anything about. It's not my phone that I can switch off. It's not my alarm that I can switch off. It's something on the road. I cannot control it. So what I did was, whatever noise I hear, I cannot help. I meditate on that noise as a form of Om. Every sound comes from Om. And Om is the essence behind every sound. So whatever sound I hear, I resolve that sound into the concept of Omkara. Trash song, namas from a mosque, some yelling, some horrible music from some temple, or some kid yelling, some dogs howling, or some uncle in the next apartment who is brushing the teeth in a very voracious manner. You hear all this who and spitting and all kinds of noises. Early morning, 5 o'clock. You go to Rishikesh, you can hear that when you stay in some ashram where there are a lot of sadhus staying, especially these akhadas near. All the Mahatmas, they will get up in the morning. Some of them, they practice some kriyas, I think. I don't know. There will be unimaginable gargling and spitting noise that you will hear. You can't imagine the level of noise you'll hear. So that, all you imagine any kind of unpleasant noise, there is no dearth of unpleasant noises in our country. So it's a huge opportunity for meditation on Om. So I took it as an opportunity to meditate on Om. It was very useful. I created a tapasya for that. So we can make a list, all of us, regarding which sense faculties we experience helplessness, regarding what kind of thoughts, repetitive thoughts that we experience a certain helplessness. And there are certain things, for example, last 2 months, it is a time for income tax. Nobody likes to pay their income tax. That is a fact. Unfortunately, it is there. If you don't pay, they're going to grab all your money. So better you pay on time and you pay less. It creates a huge restlessness, hard-earned money of the middle class. 30% of whatever is above certain amount, everything is so expensive. And you have to pay a huge chunk of the money to the government, which you know for sure is not going to come back in any reasonable way for you. It's going for all kinds of things that you don't agree with, but still you have to pay. So this feels like a huge injustice. At the time of income tax, every hard-earning middle class person, even a rich person, I'm sure, feels that huge sense of injustice when it comes to the moment of paying income tax. This kind of, and there are a lot of things that are not fair. When you go in around in life, there is no limit. You can always, there is no lack of unfairness. So you experience a lot of unfairness, and that affects you in a very deep way, because you are a very reasonable person, law abiding person. You take care of everything. You are very responsible, and then you end up faring unfairness. You end up facing unfairness. So that's really unfair. There is no denying that it is unfair. It is unfair, but it is inevitable. So as a continuation from our Chitta Prasadanam discourse, I am telling you, right? So that is a certain level of helplessness with respect to unfair things happening to us and to everyone around, to reasonable people, unfairness happening in life, that is there. And things that we don't agree with, but we don't agree with on a very fundamental level, but we cannot escape it. There is a helplessness. We have to face it. We have to say yes to that. We have to do that, even if we feel that we completely disagree with that. Something like income tax, for example, completely disagree with that, still you have to do. There is no other choice. Now, regarding that, we can create a certain type. So like that, we can make a list. There are certain helplessness with respect to my self image, with respect to the way I see myself, the way I see the world and life, my worldview. There may be a helplessness. So please make a list in different levels of functioning: body level, habit level, desires and urges level, sensory level, which senses. So like that, you make a list: emotional level, attitude level, conceptual and worldview level, right? You make a list about that and see how we can create a micro tapasya. So this is the concept that I'm bringing. Micro tapasya. What is a micro tapasya? Micro tapasya is planting a small discipline, physical, verbal, or mental, or physical and action level, or speech level and affirmation level, or mental level, mental exercise, visualization, thinking level, etc. Make a create a small practice. You can do that in discussing with, you can study some scriptures. You can take inspiration from the scriptures. You can discuss with your gurus. You can discuss with any wise person who is well read, or somebody, or you can Google around and see what helps in this, what creates this problem, and try to create a discipline. So micro tapasya is basically a physical, verbal, or mental discipline, or action level, or a thinking level discipline that you create and strategically place during the times when you are generally likely to face this challenge. Let us say if your addiction is to eating sweets, then you regulate the sweet eating according to a schedule. I will eat only so much sweet, and only in that time of the day. I will not have sweets in the evening. I will have sweets only in the morning, because I can burn the sugar. And how much sweet I can have. While having the sweet, how I will have. And what else I can meditate upon. For example, a very simple thing, because I practiced this once, and I also told a few people, it seemed to help. Any indulgence, visual, entertainment, music, taste, whatever is any kind of indulgence. When you are indulging,
Yogeshwarji. For Yogeshwarji.
yes.
For Yogeshwarji.
Yes, what happened? Yes, I'm here. You're not hearing? Hello? Is there a problem?
You can unmute, sir. Pranavji, you can unmute and ask question.
No, sorry, it was not mute. It was just the phone was unmuted. Sorry.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Very clear.
I was audible all this time, right?
Yes, yes.
Somebody was yelling Yogeshvar ji, so I don't understand. Right. Okay. I'm continuing. So micro tapasya is, create a discipline that you strategically plan that will throw you a challenge where you are able to confront that weakness. Create a discipline that will throw you a challenge which makes you confront that helplessness, and you stick to the discipline despite your helplessness. You stick to that discipline, that whatever tapasya or the discipline or the routine that you have planned, stick to that in spite of the helplessness that you feel. Just stick to that like a discipline. So this is tapasya. This is the basic concept of tapasya. So you have to make a list, and let us say take the top 3 problems that you have. If it is too much, at least one, the top priority problem that you have for the next 1 month or 45 days. One mandala, we say, that is a cultural practice. It seems it goes with the sequence of the moon, phases of the moon. Today is Amavasya, right? So today the new moon starts. This Amavasya, next Paurnami, next is Amavasya, and then the next Paurnami. That would be 45 days. Yeah, 3 fortnights. So for 3 fortnights, from this Amavasya to Paurnami to next the other Amavasya to this Amavasya to the next Amavasya to the following Paurnami. That would be 45 days, right? So you take up one top problem that you recognize where you feel helpless, where you feel very challenged. It can be at any level. It can be at the body level, mind level. You can make a list, but from the list you choose one. So we have to do this thinking. So one of the main requirements for tapasya is we do a lot of introspection and start living consciously. And then what you do, see what helplessness you have, that you are able to really recognize by yourself as a helplessness. Oh, this is not okay. I need to work on this. Right? So you do that, and maybe you discuss with me or find by yourself, and you see what discipline you can make at the action level, at the verbal level, at the level of affirmations or whatever, and at the thinking level. A simple thing would be like, for example, if you are one of the very common things nowadays is gadget addiction. Everybody has. You cannot. The moment you wake up, you look at the phone. While eating, you look at the phone. We have this tendency to keep looking for messages. Or once you go into this watching this reels, this I heard about this. Instagram is supposed to be the most addictive. Instagram or YouTube Shorts. Keep on scrolling in the phone, right? So you can, for example, you can say that for the next 3 days, I will only answer to essential communication in the form of calls, messages, or WhatsApp, or any planned discussion. So if I want to chat with somebody or want to discuss something, I can plan it, and you can keep away from groups. If you are not required in that group, if you don't have anything active connected to your goals going on, I will not get sucked into group chat. One person responds, another person responds. Everybody has 100 groups going on. So there is always some discussion going on in some group, and you get pulled into it. So every time you feel pulled into something, you feel the motivation. The moment you feel pulled at the action level, you keep the phone away. And instead of the phone, what you can do, see, if you are used to scrolling, right? So your indriya, your karamendriya, hands is used to doing something. So what you do is you have a small mala or like a bracelet made of beads, rudraksha beads, tulasi beads, or some crystal beads, right? You have a small bracelet. You keep the phone away and you take this bracelet and you do japa. You roll the beads telling some mantra and accompanying with deep breathing. This could be one kind of tapasya. Every time you feel that you are feeling compelled to pick up the phone and scroll through things, every time you feel the rush to scroll through things, whenever you feel the rush, drop the phone, take the mala, do japa, roll the beads. 5 rounds. You will not leave the mala until you finish 108. 5 rounds, let's say, until you finish 5 rounds, 10 rounds, you set a target. 10 rounds. Every time I feel compelled to scroll, every time I end up finding myself scrolling, I will keep the phone and do 10 mala. And after that, I will not take the phone. You will see that the rush is coming down at the level of action. When you do that, when you have what you have to do in the whenever we are doing something that is not to be done, right? What we call as vikarma or akarma. Whenever we are pulled into an action that is not supposed to be done or an unhealthy action, and we want to refrain from unhealthy action, we have to leave the situation or the object associated with the unhealthy action. We have to leave the unhealthy action context and replace the unhealthy action context with a corresponding healthy action. I have to munch something. Instead of munching some potato chips, let me take a carrot, peel the carrot and munch the carrot. If I cannot stop myself, right? If I can sit and watch the urge and overcome that, it's fine. If I can't do the contemplative level, so generally what happens is, if a person is addicted at the level of action, that means there is a lot of residual impression, or the vasana imprint is there in the pranamaya kosha. Because it is in the pranamaya kosha, or in our vital body, like Aurobindo people say, it is in the vital. You have to replace the wrong action with the corresponding helpful, healthy, or right action. If I am too possessive about my money, I will have to do charity. If I am feeling myself too selfish, I feel it difficult to share, then I will have to find a context where I go and volunteer and do some sharing. Right? I have to do that. We have to replace that. And if I feel very jealous about somebody else living a nice life, I have to do some things to help people to have a nice life. That is a tapasya. I heard about one yoga school where the master said a girl wanted this is also there in our culture. They say, if you want to get married, do a sumangali puja. They say, instead of feeling jealous, you create a positive attitude towards women who are married and living a good, nice family life. So invite them. You give them gifts. You offer them food. You give them some gifts. So you do like a puja. So the sumangali puja is basically creating a healthy attitude towards women who are having a nice family life. When you do that, you attract that into your life. So that is a tapasya. Instead of sitting and cribbing and being bitter about not getting married, and making a jealousy and envy, and gossiping about and talking bad mouthing all the married women who are around you, and instead of that, you do a sumangali puja. That is a tapasya, right? Reorienting of the attitude. So like that, we can create for a very small thing. The basic fundamental is this: replace the wrong action, the unhealthy action, unhealthy thought, unhealthy verbosity with a corresponding, first by leaving the context. You take yourself out of the context. You remove the negative motivation context, the external factors. You remove them, get out of them, and replace them with a healthy objects, healthy thoughts and words, and healthy attitude, and replace that and manifest that healthy attitude in corresponding healthy action, right? And for a sustained period of time, on a regular basis, every day at this hour during the day, I will do this tapasya for this purpose. You have to have a sankalpa, an intention, a conscious intention. Oh, this is my healthy union. Suppose, let us say you are used to talking bad words and cursing and all that. You decide 3 hours in the time of the day when you are most likely to speak bad words. An hour before that, an hour after that. These 3 hours, 2 muhurtas or 3 muhurtas, whatever you can say. 3 hours, I will not speak any bad word. I will speak instead. I will speak only positive words, or I will chant Ramanama, some divine names. I will do either Namajapa or chant my mantra, or if at all I have to speak, I will speak only positive things, only pleasant words. For example, I can do this for myself. I get very, I tend to lose my school time to time when I'm driving. So when somebody goes in the front, I tend to yell at people. They will not hear, but I'm yelling it inside my car, so the other guy won't hear. So what they do is I create a tapasya. Instead of calling calling names, I can utter Rama, Shiva Shiva, God bless you, man, for God's sake, something like that. Something that I can put it in I can use a positive term to respond to the same challenging situation. So during driving, I will not curse. That could be a tapasya for people like me who get completely pissed off when I may not go into a rage, but definitely somebody just, especially these guys who go in a scooter, these old people. Today there was a man, old man, not very old, middle age, stubbornly going in a TVS 50 in the middle of the road, not allowing anybody else to pass. He's occupying the entire lane. He's just going bindas in the middle of the road. And it happens in our country, especially small towns. That will absolutely irritate you completely. So instead of responding to that with some bad words, probably I could respond to that in a Sabuko, Sanmati De Bhagwan, like that. I can create a joke out of that. We can make it into a humorous thing, or we can utter something, or just do japa. That is something can be done. It's the micro tapasya, right? So this is a very important concept that we can all integrate into our everyday lives. We make a list of our weaknesses and create a micro tapasya for each one of that, and plant the micro tapasya strategically in the times where we are most likely to encounter that helplessness, in those times during the day, or the different factors that generally push us towards that helplessness. When you are about to face those factors, we can plant this tapasya on a regular interval, at the level of action, at the level of affirmation and thinking, and at the level of reorienting our attitude for a certain dedicated period of time, which is usually 1 mandala. So with like that, we can do up to 2 or 3 tapasyas for a given mandala. That will help us to become more conscious, and it will improve our ability to keep our commitment to our purposes, and to keep our center, to keep our ability to stay on track and not be pulled out of our sense of inner stability and our equanimity. Not to disturb our equanimity will not be disturbed by these factors. We will have more resilience towards these challenges. When we develop that resilience, inner resilience, that gives us an instinctive ability to stay on course with respect to pursuing our goals. And we will also feel a certain kind of an inner power. You will feel a certain kind of improved confidence, not only regarding that area of helplessness where we are using the tapasya, but also when we undertake a micro tapasya for a specific issue of helplessness, we can see the confidence building up in us in an overall level in all areas of life. If you overcome helplessness in one area of life, you will see the confidence building for you to overcome helplessness in every other area of life. That confidence will radiate into all spheres of our life. You can see that practically happen. Even for 1 week, we do that very diligently, consciously. Write it down, maintain your tapasya journal. See what is the problem and what is the tapasya you have planned. And you can research. You can see what the psychologists are saying. You can see what Yoga Shastra is saying. You can see if there are any similar situations faced by our characters in our itihasas and Puranas and how they overcame that problem. You can discuss with Mahatmas, you can discuss with Gurus, and you can design your tapasya, that micro tapasya, and plant it and take notes and see how it has helped you, and then go to the next one. So, like that, can tick off all the different areas of helplessness. When you taste success in one tapasya, you will see that how that motivates you. You know, that will pump your dopamine and that will motivate you to address all other areas of helplessness. And that is how we improve our spiritual power. Spiritual power is not just about supernatural things. Spiritual power is our ability to stay committed to our purushartha no matter what. Let it be karmic or let it be just random things around us. We are able to stay on course in our commitment to our goals, both short-term goals and long-term goals, no matter what challenge we face, both internal challenge or external challenge. I am on track pursuing my goals and I will not compromise my purushartha no matter what. That is the essence of spiritual power, and we develop that with this practice of strategically placed micro tapasya. Right? So with that, I will conclude the class. Think about it, work on it, and maybe you can discuss what you have done and the individual things in our next class. I will permit one question before I go. If it is anything is urgent. There is no urgent question, I will conclude the class. Okay. So 10 seconds means no question is urgent. So I'll conclude the class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.